Hi, my name is Asmi, and today I'm going to recap my 25-day water fast. So if you have just discovered my channel, I'm going to give you a quick little background on myself, how I got into fasting, what my experience was like with this 25-day water fast, and some closing thoughts. I'm going to get into all the details, but first a disclaimer before we get started. I'm just sharing my experience. I'm not a medical professional. I'm going to share a bunch of resources at the bottom, so please do check them out. This is what I have been studying the last few years as I have incorporated fasting into my routine. It's important you do your research, and if you've got a pre-existing medical condition or are on any medication, it's really important that you consult with a doctor so that you can do this in a way that is safe and healthy for you. So a little bit about me and how I got into fasting. I have struggled with my weight my entire life. It has been there since childhood, through college, through adulthood. And back in 2017, I discovered Dr. Jason Fung and his book, The Obesity Code. I remember reading that book and just feeling like, oh my God, a light bulb went over my head. Somebody has explained my life to me. In the book, he talks a lot about hormones, insulin resistance, and why it can be so hard for people who've had long-term weight issues to lose weight. And for me, it suddenly explained why I'd been having so much trouble losing weight, and anytime why I ended up gaining it back in a few months, no matter how good I had been about my workout routine, eating clean, all of that stuff. After reading The Obesity Code, I began experimenting with fasting as a tool for weight loss. I remember doing my first one-day water fast after reading the book, and I have fasted previously. It's pretty common in Indian traditions, and I have done water fast for spiritual purposes, but I've never really, up until this moment, thought about it as a tool for weight loss. And I remember doing that first fast, and I was at work, and it must have been the afternoon. I hadn't had anything, and I was clutching my stomach thinking, when is this day gonna end? I am miserable. And I couldn't wait to get home. I went to bed really early that night. And I remember the next morning I weighed myself and the scale changed. And now granted, a lot of this, maybe all of it at that time was water weight, but it was the first time in my life where I saw some action that I'm doing having a direct correlation to an output in my body. And I suddenly felt like, oh my God, maybe I could be in control of all of this. And so from 2017 to 2019, I did a good amount of short and medium term fast, and I was able to lose a good amount of weight, but I kept plateauing, regaining some of it back because I would slip into bad habits and then restart fasting again. During this time, I did begin doing an annual 7-day water fast. So this is something that Dr. Fung talks about in his books is a great way to prevent a lot of diseases that happen. Basically, when the body does a long-term water fast, you get into autophagy, your body recycles old cells, and it can be really good for disease prevention. And so the last few years, I've mostly been doing a 7-day water fast. There was one year, I forget which one, where I think I only made it 5 days and I couldn't go the 7, but I've generally done 7. And the longest I had done was in 2022, I had done a 14-day water fast. And so that was a big milestone for me. And I remember doing the 14-day water fast. It was really, really tough. And I thought, well, this is it. I'm never going to do a long water fast again. And now fast forward to the end of 2024, the last few years, I really struggled. So after I did that 14-day water fast, I continued my kind of typical fasting routine, and I'd managed to lose another 10 to 12 pounds. And then after that, I remember it distinctly. It was the summer 2022. And I couldn't fast anymore. I would get to the afternoon, I would get to 3 or 4 o'clock, and I would literally start crying. And this is someone who's done many 3, 5, 7, 10, and a 14-day water fast, and I couldn't get through 24 hours. And so that happened for a couple of months, and I remember thinking, okay, if I'm not able to fast, what if I change my diet? So I tried doing the medical medium diet for a month, and I think I was really, really hungry the whole time. And so I stopped doing it because I thought, I don't have a disease and I'm miserable and I don't like this. Then I tried raw for a couple of months, and I found that raw was really interesting. I liked the idea of eating clean, fresh foods all the time, but it was exhausting to eat that volume of food, and I was hungry every few hours, and I didn't feel like it fit with my lifestyle. And so by the end of that year, I kind of just didn't make any progress, to be honest. And as someone who's also into energy healing, I started feeling like my problem wasn't just physical, i.e. I have weight to lose, but it was also energetic. And so the past few years, I've been doing a lot of energy healing on myself, specifically around weight loss. In one of the forms of energy healing that I practice called pranic healing, we talk about how when we have excess weight, it is just not physical weight, but it's a lot of stored negative emotions. And so I've been working on trying to release these negative emotions energetically so that I could then more easily lose the weight physically, especially because I think I have all the tools that I need, but whatever I'm doing is not working. So at the end of 2024, I knew it's time to get ready for my annual 7-day water fast. And to be honest, I was really, really nervous. I think I'd only done 1 3-day water fast in like the last 6 months before that. And I really didn't know how I was going to do a 7-day water fast. I was kind of dreading it, but it's this commitment that I've made to myself. And I was really determined that I'm going to do this somehow. I don't know how. And I started watching a lot of the YouTube videos that I'm referencing below. And as I was doing more research and I was kind of hyping myself up and getting myself ready to do the 7-day water fast, I came across a consistent theme across a few different videos. And that was the really like deep healing ability of a long water fast, and how 3 7-day water fasts are not equivalent to a 21-day water fast. And I remember one of the videos I watched said that somebody who has long-term insulin resistance, which I think, granted, I'm self-diagnosing, but at this point, I think I can say I probably have long-term insulin resistance if even after doing so many fasts, I've mostly cut out oil from my diet. We eat mostly whole food, plant-based food at home. We're vegetarian. I still have not been able to make really great progress. And one of the videos talked about if you have long-term insulin resistance, you need to do a really long water fast to try to reset your hormones. And this video said 24 days. And so that kind of stuck in my head. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could do such a long fast? But I didn't know if I would be able to, but the seed had been planted. And I decided to do this on my own. I've done my 14-day water fast on my own. Again, I don't have any pre-existing medical conditions right now. I'm not on any medication. I did decide that if I run into any trouble, I would break the fast. Like if at any moment I didn't feel safe, I would break it. It wasn't an ego thing. It was more just like, I've done fasting before. I feel pretty comfortable with it. I also have my husband as my support system and my person to check up on me. So in case I felt like something was going wrong, I knew he would intervene. He would tell me. So with that, I started fasting, and I had kind of this like, dreamy goal of 24 days, but I was really like, if I just make it to 7, like that's step 1. I don't know what's going to happen. And the first day on my fast, I cried at 7 p.m. I was like, oh, this is ominous. This is like not going well. And I was crying, and I told my husband that I really needed his support on this fast, and that unless I was doing something that was unsafe, I asked him to push me. And I remember going to him crying at 7 o'clock on that first day. He's like, it's 7 o'clock. It's only a few more hours till bed. You can do this. And that was it. I was sad, but I got through it. And I similarly cried on day 3. And I did not have a good day. And I really did not know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to make it all the way. But again, I cried. I went to bed. I survived. So what did happen? I did make it 25 days. So a little bit about what this time period of my life was like. I'm also going to cover what I had on the fast. So hopefully you now understand why I decided to do a long fast after having done so many shorter ones previously. So typically, there's a little bit of a different school of thought on what you can have on a water fast. There are some purists who think you can only have distilled water. There are others who say things like black coffee, tea, broth are okay. And so for me, what I ended up doing is I did have black coffee, I think the first day, and I have not had black coffee in a couple of years, and I don't have the taste for it anymore because I didn't have it after that. I did continue to have both herbal tea and black tea throughout the fast. So depending on how I was sleeping, I either had black tea because I felt like I needed a little bit more caffeine, or I did have herbal tea. That was simply, it helps me fast. And especially right now, it's winter here in Jersey City. It has been really cold. I'm not sure I could have done it just on room temperature water. And starting on day 13, I also started having veggie broth. I felt really tired and really run down. And this past month, while I was fasting, was actually the busiest I have been at my job that I've been at for 6.5 years. And I've been like working late most nights. It's been really stressful. It's been high pressure. And I didn't think I would have been able to make it without the veggie broth. And so I decided I was comfortable making that choice. And so during this water fast, I've had water, black tea, green tea, herbal tea, black coffee, and veggie broth. So essentially 0 calories. And I'll also talk about kind of what the effects were and like what I noticed and what I didn't. But I felt really comfortable making those decisions, so that's what I did. In terms of supplements that I took, I didn't take anything every single day, but most days I took magnesium and potassium along with sea salt to help with electrolytes and make sure that my body's processing the water that I'm drinking. I also took GABA, which is it's a supplement to help regulate your nervous system and calm you down. And like I said, it was a really stressful time at work. And then when you do fasting, and especially if you do a long fast, it can mess with your sleep. And because I was so tired and it was such a busy time at work, I did occasionally take melatonin to help me with sleep. Sometimes it worked more effectively than others, but those were the supplements I took during this fast. So I mentioned how days 1 and 3 were really hard. And then days 4 through 14 were honestly cruise control for me, more or less. Not to say that I wasn't tired, not to say that I wasn't hungry, but like I said, it was a really stressful time at work. I was able to do my job. I was mostly working from home, didn't have a ton of energy by the end of the night, went to bed early, but I got through it. And once I hit day 14, I remember day 15 thinking well, I just did 14 days. Isn't that enough? Also, how am I going to do 10 more days? I really didn't know. And my husband just kept telling me one day at a time, one day at a time. I hit day 20, days 21 through 25 were really terrible. I did not feel good at all. I started feeling nauseous. I had headaches. I just physically did not feel great. I didn't feel unsafe. I just felt really, really yucky. And I was very excited to break my fast on day 25. So during this time period, I was not moving my body a lot, both because I was working long hours, I was really tired, and I didn't have a ton of physical energy. So the first few days I did walk around, maybe do a little bit of asana, but once I got past day 4 or 5, I did not move my body a lot. So that was it. It was a lot of hibernating, staying, getting through it. Obviously there is a bit of physical discomfort when you are doing a long fast like that, but it wasn't anything crazy. I've also seen other people do YouTube videos of long fasts, and some people are living their best life. I remember watching one video of somebody and they were on day 86 and they had gone on vacation and done all these things. I was not there. I was not living my best life. It was definitely tolerable, but it was tolerable discomfort. It was not the most fun I've ever had, but I was able to do it, and I was able to sustain myself with the liquids I was having while having a really demanding and high pressure job. I had been primarily doing this long fast really for weight loss and helping rebalance my hormones, but I wanted to talk about some of the extra benefits I got from it. So when you do a long fast, it's also supposed to be really healing for the body. And I hadn't go in really expecting much, but there are 3 things that I noticed that happen. First were I have really dark circles under my eyes, and I think they're hereditary. I've had them forever. They have lightened up significantly. Second was back in 2014, I sprained my right ankle, and I remember at the end of physical therapy, my ankle was really swollen, and I'd asked my physical therapist what was going on, and he said some people just have permanent swelling and it's never going to go down. I've had it for 10 years. Somewhere around day 15 of this fast, my ankle was no longer swollen. I wasn't even expecting it, but it went away. So that was pretty cool. Lastly, I had some scarring on one of my ears, and that scarring and the swelling has gone down significantly. And that's another injury that's at least 5+ years old. In terms of weight, I'm sure everyone's curious, if you're doing a 25-day water fast, what is going on your weight? Now, there are some rule of thumb guidelines that sometimes people share, on average you'll lose, a pound a day, but it's a half pound of fat, half a pound of water weight, etc., etc. What I noticed during this 25-day water fast is initially I was losing weight consistently. So the first few days it was a lot because it was a lot of water weight, and then it started going down and averaging about a pound a day. And then at some point I remember getting my period. I didn't lose any weight for a couple of days, and then my weight actually went up. And then after that, it went down. And then the last 3 days of my fast, my weight stayed exactly the same. It didn't change. But my body looked different every single day. And so I think this is also a good reminder of a weight being an imperfect measurement. You're also weighing water weight plus body fat, plus your muscles, plus your bones, plus everything, etc., etc. And you can't control it. So I was really surprised, especially near the end of the fast, that my weight didn't change at all. But it didn't, but my body kept changing and looking different. I'm going to talk a little bit about breaking my fast. So this is actually the most important thing if you decide to do a long-term water fast is coming out of the fast safely and gently. And this is because you have officially shut down your body's digestion. So all that good bacteria that are there to break down food, to have healthy digestion, most of them are gone. So you need to bring them back slowly. And again, for this, there are some best practices out there, some different schools of thought. I kind of combined a few different things and it has worked pretty well for me. But again, this is one that you want to make sure you're safe. If you need to have, more support, there are different fasting communities out there that can help you, including Tanglewood, Costa Rica. They do both in-person and remote coaching. Same with True North Health Center, somewhere based out of the Midwest with Dr. Alan Goldhammer. So if this is something that you don't feel like you can do on your own, there are resources out there to figure out how to do it safely and effectively for you. For me, what I did is I had a little bit of kombucha to break my fast because kombucha is fermented. It's supposed to be good for the gut. Had a little bit of watermelon. This seems to be a very popular fruit to break your fast. And so I thought, everyone's doing it, I'll do it too. And then I had a little bit of avocado and kimchi. And then I kind of repeated that for a couple of days. And then as I was feeling good, I started incorporating other foods and more solid foods into my fast. What was really surprising to me is I think on day 3 after breaking my fast, I was an emotional mess. I woke up crying. I was really sad. I had my husband do quite a few energy healings on me since breaking the fast. And so the energy component for me has been really, really interesting, where I did a lot of energy work just to be able to really get into this fast. I honestly don't think if I hadn't done the energy work I have the past few years, I would have been able to do a 25-day water fast. And then coming out of the water fast, I noticed that a lot of old emotions were releasing. I was feeling really, really bad. And so having the tool of energy healing to help me with that was really, really beneficial. I've been getting a lot of energy healing from my husband and also doing some myself. And that's been really, really helpful as I transition back to eating. So the other things I've noticed with breaking my fast is that my weight has gone all over the place. I think the first few days I gained 10 pounds and there's no way I was eating that kind of food, but my body was retaining water. I'm about a week out and my body still is changing that number every single day based on water retention. I'm doing my best to eat really healthy, eat clean, and start moving my body again. I basically didn't move my body for a good portion of 25 days, so my body's become really weak. It's really hard for me to even just do like 1 mile right now, whether it's like walking on the treadmill or a light jog. And so I'm working on rebuilding my body. And I'm relearning my hunger signals. The first few days, I also felt hungry all the time. And I knew that wasn't real hunger. It might be a combination of thirst and hunger, but also just like relearning, because when you're in a long-term water fast, for me at least, I don't ever feel like I ever stop being completely hungry, but that hunger goes in the background and you're not thinking about it and it's just kind of there. And suddenly when you start eating again, you're like, oh, should I eat? How hungry am I? What do I need? So relearning all of those signals and kind of adjusting to my body and trying to be really mindful about what I'm eating, how I'm moving, and all of that. My closing thoughts on this has been an amazing experience. It has been really, really challenging, but like completely doable also. So just throwing that out there for anyone who has struggled with their weight and would want to do something like this, it is possible to do it on your own. Again, this is my experience. You should do what is right and safe for you and do your own research. I honestly would have loved to go a little bit longer. I don't know if I would have been able to go past 30 days given how I was feeling, but I've got some work travel coming up and I'm going to be in all-day summits and having dinner with executives. And so I wanted to break my fast with enough buffer time for a good refeeding window before I go back. So this has been my experience. How am I feeling after the fast? It's been really interesting. I'm obviously really excited and really happy to eat again, but part of me was a little sad to end the fast because while I was fasting, I knew I'm not doing anything wrong for my body. And now as I go back to eating, socializing, doing all those things, I have to be that much more careful with the decisions I'm making. A, to maintain this progress that I've made, but B, I'm also still not done yet on my weight loss journey. And so from here, I'm trying to understand and think about what my game plan is, either with intermittent fasting or short or medium fast, which I consider like 1 to 3 days, along with working out and really using this like chapter as like a jump start for my journey, which has been really stagnant the last few years. But all in all, it's been an amazing experience. I would say it has been more challenging mentally and emotionally than physically, because at some point, especially for me, for these 25 days, I was getting up from bed, working from home, and going to sleep. So I didn't have a lot of like physical responsibilities or things I had to deal with, but it was all that mental and emotional stuff of not feeling great and just that mental strength and resilience to say, I'm going to do something like not eat for 25 days, which sounds crazy to most of us, but actually, if you have weight to lose, it is totally fine and actually not a bad thing. So all in all, I'm really proud of myself. I'm really grateful I could do it. I don't know if I'll be doing another long fast anytime soon, mostly because a lot of social obligations coming the next few months. January was the perfect month for me to hibernate and be able to do it. But I'm definitely going to continue on my fasting and healing journey. And let me know if you've got questions or comments or would be interested in getting an update video in a couple of months. Wishing you lots of health and success.